We have some incredible updates in terms of digital business and how we're driving transformation in the enterprise. All new automations and tasks in Box, the new Box Skills Kit being GA'd this December, custom trained AI models that you're going to be able to use with Box Skills Kit, and of course, great partnerships with IBM, Apple, ServiceNow, and others. So that's how we're powering a digital workplace and your digital business processes. But there's one more thing we want to talk about before we close out today, and that's security and data protection. You can't deliver a modern digital workplace or modern digital business processes without ensuring that you're securing all of the data within your organization, without ensuring the privacy on that content. And we know that implementing security and data protection calls for a different set of capabilities, calls for a different set of solutions in the digital age. We can't rely on the perimeter-based security model. We can't rely on very rigid security approaches in the digital age. And so we have something really special that we want to share with you today. And it's a preview of some product that we've been working on for quite some time over the past couple of years, and then now actually coming together much more recently. And to show you what we've been working on, I'd like to bring up John Fan, who leads our enterprise products at Box.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, before I get started, just one thing. This is not a security-related injury, so just wanted to get out of the way before we get started here. So at Box, we've always been about providing leading-edge security in the cloud. And we build in security and resiliency into everything we do. It's in our infrastructure where we serve a Box queue for multiple data centers where we follow strong security practices. And then we innovate on top of that with features like our Box Key Safe, where we are the first to give you the ability to own your own encryption keys in the cloud. On the development side, we build using secure software development processes, ensuring that security is baked in from the ground up. And then we test that on an ongoing basis to make sure it stays that way. But then from the beginning, we've delivered capabilities to all of you to use in the product. We've had the best security controls for internal and external collaboration, done in a very frictionless manner. And then we continue to innovate there as well. We've added features like dynamic watermarking. And we have this upcoming two-factor authentication for external collaborators that G2 mentioned as well earlier. And we focus on seamless integrations with other security products so that you can make the most of your security investments that you've already made. And this includes our Box Trust ecosystem with security partners like Okta and Netscope and IBM, as David mentioned just now. And because of all of this, we've been able to work with the world's most security-conscious companies. But as we look to the future, the security landscape continues to evolve, as it always does. And this landscape starts to look a little different. Organizational boundaries are blurring in a digital world. Collaboration is happening at an accelerated pace, right? We have more people working on our content. And it's not only just our employees, it's the employees of our partners, our vendors, our suppliers, but even more so now, it's including things like our contractors and folks who are working in there. And so we no longer have just purely internal or purely external users in our organization. And this kind of blurs those boundaries, makes it really difficult to protect our data. Attacks are also gaining in sophistication, right? We've had these coarse-grained ways of detecting attacks. But in a new world where we're thinking about account compromise, access misuse, at a very granular level, it's really difficult at times to find the very granular events amidst all of the noise that's there, to find that signal in all that noise. And the explosion of applications and devices accessing our content are sort of the lifeblood of powering a digital business. Susan and Aaron were just talking about that. And it's really, end users are demanding and need this access to get their jobs done right, to get jobs done in a digital world. But this adds a ton of scale challenge to securing data. This variety of devices can be very, very difficult to secure. And so protecting the flow of information in this kind of landscape with this much scale to pinpoint the right events to respond to can be very daunting. And to meet these challenges, the next era of security has to be defined by intelligence. And so today, we're very excited to introduce Box Shield, which is intelligent security for the digital age. And we're going to bring a loc up in a second to give you a preview. But the one thing I'd say is we're in a preview stage, as Aaron mentioned. So if you guys could do me a favor, like we're going to judge based on roughly how much applause and noise we get here, whether or not we should ship this thing. So as loc comes up here, let us know whether or not we should build this. You don't gotta go.
So I run security strategy and products at Box, and I'm super excited to represent my team on stage here and to give you all a preview of Box Shield. Now, as a built-in security solution, Shield is designed to deliver on the promise of frictionless security. It's context-aware and intelligent, as it understands how people work in the digital age. So let's start by taking a look at how people interact with their content, right? So you have a user that logs onto a device, uses an app to access the content. That's expected. But this is where it starts to get interesting. So users could be your employees, or they could be external collaborators. The device they're working from could be a managed device running corporate IT images, or it could be a personal device that does not even meet the most basic security control. And the app could be a custom app or a third-party app. And finally, the content itself could be sensitive. Running, for example, it could be your financial documents, it could be your intellectual property, or files containing PII data. Or it could be malicious because a user, in search for a good-looking PowerPoint template, went to an untrusted website and downloaded a malicious document. Now, as these users begin to collaborate, their web of interaction tells us a lot about their behavior. We can understand their access patterns. We know where they work from, we know what content they access, which users they interact with, and so on. This is BoxGraph. BoxGraph is our machine learning platform that constantly deciphers user, app, device, and content interactions to create a mapping of user behavior. Now, BoxGraph is solving for a multidimensional complex problem. I would like to give you a quick preview of what this really means in real world. So here on the screen, you're seeing two different clusters that Shield has created purely based on the mapping of users' interaction with their content and the applications. Now, we happen to name them as engineering team and sales team, right? Shield doesn't really care about which groups they are part of. It automatically tries to understand that without any context from Active Directory. Now, let's say someone from the sales cluster, let's say a salesperson, tries to access content in the engineering cluster. Could be a design document, could be a formula that a scientist is working on. Now, when he does that, that behavior is abnormal because the salesperson has not done that before. So Shield can detect that and flag it for IT to review. Now, based on this intelligence, we can help identify risky user behaviors. For example, negligent users who tend to ignore security policies, accidentally share data with people they should not be sharing with, or malicious users who might be having access to sensitive content but tend to abuse the access and the privilege they have. Or it could be external users who are actually accessing your sensitive content from insecure devices, putting your organization at risk. With Shield, we are working on our vision to help IT mitigate these security risks and deliver frictionless security. Our first area of focus is smart access that provides intelligent guardrails to protect your sensitive content. The second focus, as the name says, quite obvious, is anomaly detection, which is focused on detecting suspicious user behaviors and generating context-rich alerts. And finally, we're focused on working on what we call as content firewall. We want to give IT the same level of controls that they have today for internal employees so they can apply it for external users as well. Now let's take a deep dive and understand each of these focus areas. So the first one is smart access, which delivers three capabilities. You can define your custom classification label, let's say top secret, confidential, my favorite label, what have you. Now, once you have these labels in place, you can manually or automatically classify the content in Box. And once you have those content classified, you can surgically apply access policies to the content that truly needs protection instead of applying a block-level policy preventing people from actually doing the work they're supposed to do. Now, moving to anomaly detection, we can help you identify people or employees who are stealing your sensitive data or intellectual property. For example, an employee planning to leave your company and planning to take the data with him, we can detect that behavior. We can also identify access abuse. For example, an employee takes advantage of his access in Box, corporate instance, and maps his personal email address with Box corporate account. Finally, we can discover suspicious user behaviors, but in addition, we can identify compromised user accounts. So moving to the final piece, which is content firewall. This is where we are delivering IT the control they have always wanted, which is to be able to apply the same level of security controls on external users. So we will allow them to verify the identity of external users. This is beyond 2FA, by the way, because with 2FA, you don't check for fraudulent accounts. We are looking at going beyond 2FA in this case. The second area is checking the security posture of the device that the user is coming from. And finally, doing deep scan of the content that external users are uploading into Box, because these content could actually be malicious, could have malware, macros, and phishing URLs within those documents. Now, that's Shield in a nutshell. Now, to give you all a quick demo and sneak peek into the things that we have been working on, I would like to invite Vandana Pai on stage. Vandana? Vandana, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I had a minor glitch, but I'm doing all right. It seems like folks here completely grokked machine learning, right? Yes? Cool. So tell me, what are you going to do, and what are you going to demonstrate today?
Well, I'm excited to show everyone how easy it is to configure Box Shield. Now, as all of you know, work is always happening in Box. And oftentimes, our users are collaborating on highly sensitive content, like manufacturing designs, financial information, business plans, all those pictures of baby animals. But seriously, now security teams are really concerned about potential data leaks of this sensitive content. And so in order to protect that subset of content, they end up implementing overarching control. For example, completely disabling external collaboration for an entire enterprise. However, with Box Shield, you can instead implement context-specific access policies that can be precisely applied to a set of classified content. And I'll show you how easy it is to set up these policies. So let's jump into the admin console. Oops, let's get that demo up. Okay. So now imagine that I'm an IT admin, and I've already pre-configured a list of classification labels that the legal team has shared with me. And I can use these in Box Shield. If I go to the Shield settings page, you can see a summary of all the policies that I've already enabled. Now, the security team loves this, but they're always asking me to make changes to make things more secure, and they requested that I make a change to the confidential content access policy. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that one. Okay, let's see here. So right over here, you can see that I've set this policy to only apply to content that is sensitive, so anything with the confidential classification label. And for this set of content, I've also specified users to exclude, and I've already restricted collaboration to shared links only. But I want to make this more secure, so I'm going to go ahead and disable external collaboration, and I'm going to completely disable download so no user can have a local copy on any unprotected devices. Okay, this looks good to me, so go ahead and click Save, and perfect. You can see that with Box Shield, it's easy to protect sensitive information by simply creating high-precision access policies. So, Alok, what does this look like now for our end users?
Well, the mic is working, that's great. So I'm in the business strategy folder, and as you can see, there is a lot of sensitive content inside this folder. As the content owner and editor, I would like to make sure that this sensitive information does not accidentally get in the wrong hands. So what I would do here is use the folder level classification feature to add the classification label to the business strategy folder. So I'll go and select confidential, because that's the right level of classification, and choose to apply this label. And as you can see, the folder got labeled as confidential, but in addition, the label was cascaded down to all the folders and files inside of it. Now, as an end user, if I hover over the confidential label, I can see that there's a security policy applied to it, which Vandana just described to us. Here, this file or this folder cannot be downloaded on a local machine and cannot be shared with external users. So what you just saw is, in Box, you can
scale human intelligence by applying the right classification at the folder and cascade it down to all its content. And by doing so, you can easily apply the right access policy on your on your content, protecting it from accidental data leak or loss. Now, what I would like to do is show you the end user experience when these access policies are enforced. So I'm working on marketing strategy, and there is an external collaborator I need to invite. So I'm going to type in John's email, all right, and send the invite to him. Now, as you can see, because of the access policy and the fact that this folder was classified as confidential, it's preventing me from inviting John to this folder. And by the way, John is an external strategy consultant that we have hired, and I really need his input. So what I'm going to do here is make an exception and provide the business justification. All right, so I want to collaborate. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to say that we have a mutual NDA in place. Cool. Now that I have the business justification in place, I will proceed to send an invite out to John. But I really understand that the exception along with the business justification is recorded and will be reported to IT. And with that, the invite is out to John. What do you guys think? Now, here's why I like it. So security for a change is not really coming in the way of getting work done. At the same time, it's informing me that the content I was interacting with is sensitive, and I need to deal with it with caution. Now, what I'm going to do is move over to John and see what John's experience looks like. So he did receive the invite from me, and he's working on the FY20 marketing plan, and he wants to make some changes. But he's traveling, so he wants to download the file locally on his personal machine so he can do the work offline. Now, as he tries to do that, the system prevents him from downloading a local copy of this sensitive file on his personal machine. Now, hovering over the label, he can understand why that's the case, but what's really important is that IT is able to extend the security control that they apply to internal users to external users as well. So that's a quick overview of the Smart Access feature. It helps you easily classify your content, and based on the classification label, surgically apply the right access policies, and allows you to extend your controls not just for your employees, but also for external collaborators. Now, we talked about what people can do in terms of access policies and smart access. What about malicious users who may have access to sensitive content, but may be abusing or misusing it? So Vandana, how can we tackle that?
Well, that's easy, Alok. All I have to do is set up an anomaly detection rule. So imagine that your users are misusing their access, or they're attempting to download all of their data before quitting their job. Whatever it is, BoxShield can help you to detect that kind of abnormal user behavior. So you can see here that I have a list of templates that I can use to create a detection rule from. However, let's just go ahead and edit one that I've already created. Now, right over here, you can see that I have a couple rules, some that will alert me if a user is trying to access content from a suspicious location, an alert for users who might be sharing to their personal email accounts, and an alert for any potential data leaks. Now, I forgot to add some criteria to this one, so I'll go ahead and open that one. And as extra protection for the executives in our company, like Jeetu and Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and include a security watch list. So let me go ahead and find that. Perfect. And by doing this, if any of their accounts do get targeted, we'll be notified. And when this alert does trigger, I can tell BoxShield to send the alert to my security team or to send it to a log management tool like Splunk. Okay, this looks good to me. I'll click Save. Great. You can see that with BoxShield, all I have to do is create a detection rule that now allows all of my security administrators to see if anything abnormal is happening within Box. So Alok, have you noticed anything unusual happening yet?
I'm actually staring at my screen, and I have not seen a notification yet. Let's take a look. It's still coming on the way, maybe. All right. Oh, there it is. So we have a notification from Shield. So let's take a look. So this alert is about potential data leak, and it's giving me a quick summary of what this alert is about. Now, since it's data leak, I'm very curious. I would like to take a dive into this alert.
Now, as I go over the summary here, it tells me that Jeetu is up to something. He has downloaded over 1,000 files, and 24 of these were marked as confidential. This does not look good. So what I would like to do as an analyst is to take a deep dive and investigate what content was downloaded. So from the Content Explorer, I can see all folders that he has downloaded, and we can see 24 of these were classified, and you can also see the classification labels on each of the folders that were downloaded. Now, if we explore further, you can see that he has downloaded mostly everything from the corporate strategy folder in things like financial planning documents, M&A targets, as well as corporate strategy files. Now, this on the surface is not looking good. So what I'm going to do is look further on the page. But knowing Jeetu as the Chief Product Officer, he's well aware that Shield is detecting suspicious user behaviors and access misuse. So it's likely not Jeetu. I have a hunch.
What are you thinking of, Alok? I mean, what else can Box Shield tell us about Jeetu's activity?
Well, Shield tells you a lot about the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot into Jeetu's activities in the last 30 days. So as you can see in the activity chart, I have two different activity trends. The first one is about download activities, where you can see there's a spike showing potential data leak alert that we just saw. And on the login trend, I can see an alert right before this, which is about impossible travel. What this really means is that Jeetu was logged into Box from two distant locations, which is just not possible. To confirm this, I'm going to explore this in the geolocation map, and I can see there's activity from Indonesia. Now, this confirms my belief that possibly Jeetu's account is compromised. Now, I will explore this further to see when this alert was generated. So this was roughly around 1 p.m. yesterday. Wasn't this the time Jeetu was with us during the rehearsals?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. I'm pretty sure I saw Jeetu eating pizza in that corner alone while the rest of us were rehearsing for this keynote. Really productive, Jeetu.
Cool. So now that I understand what's going on this page I can further explore historical alerts that have happened with Jeetu's account. I can understand top folders and applications and files that Jeetu has accessed, and I can get a lot of detail about his activities as well. Now, I think I have enough information to make the case and report this security incident to my Chief Security Officer. So Shield not only told me of a potential suspicious behavior, it gave me context-rich information about the alert so I could understand what's going on and what Jeetu did while he was within Box. And then I realized that his account is actually compromised. This would not be possible without Box Shield. To get this summary is very hard to actually accomplish through other tools. Now, as a security analyst, I would like to get a bird's-eye view of all things that are happening in Shield. So going into the dashboard, I get a quick summary of all the alerts, the trend of the alerts, the various types of alerts that Shield has detected, but more importantly, I can get a list of all notable users who have been involved in at least one suspicious behavior or access misuse alert that Shield has detected. Now, as a security analyst, I was able to get a quick overview of all the alerts that Shield has generated. And I can understand what's going on from a security perspective. Moving to the next slide here. So what we would like to do is give you a quick summary. So you saw two different capabilities were demonstrated. So the first one was Smart Access, which helps IT implement smart controls around the content that needs protection. And we demonstrated anomaly detection, which helps identify suspicious user behaviors and patterns and generates context-rich alerts. And the way we do that is in a frictionless pattern so that security never comes in the way of getting work done. We are actively working on Shield, which will go beta later this year. And one thing I will leave you all with. So Shield, unlike traditional approaches, is context-aware, intelligent, and is designed with user experience in mind. So organizations no longer need to make a compromise between advanced security and user experience.